Hey guys, today's story is about an OP who admits they were the problem player. So, this is a tale about something that happened a few years ago, and it's a very important lesson that I think would be good for people to learn, as it was for me. There are some spoilers for Curse of Strahd, and I'll try to avoid spoiling as much as possible. This tale begins when a friend started to DM a Curse of Strahd game for myself, my girlfriend, and another friend, playing a Conquest Paladin, Druid, and a Monk in that order. Unbeknownst to me, however, my first big mistake started at character creation. I chose Paladin because I thought that Curse of Strahd was a Castlevania-style campaign, and we were about to kill a bunch of undead and kick some vampire butt. But, oh boy, was I wrong. Things started without any major problems, but everything took a turn for the worse when my paladin managed to put his hands in the Sun Sword at level 4, even before meeting with big boy Strahd von Zarovich. That sword, one of the 3 major items in the module, is a sword that shines like the sun and makes vampires burn at its mere presence. Needless to say, I was hyped. This is it! That's my special weapon to fare against the forces of darkness, I naively thought. And the GM warned me.
This item is too special and powerful for you to have at level 4. Let's re-roll the cards.
But I insisted in keeping it. I was so lucky. I can't back down now. I'll have so much fun wreaking havoc with this, I thought. And how I would regret this. But alas, there isn't any rest for the wicked. Not even 15 minutes later, we were still walking down Barovia's road, when I saw the shadow of a man at the carriage's side. It was the Count himself, the ancient Strahd von Zarovich, as well as a bunch of wolves, revealed themselves and asked for the sword. And do keep in mind that the sword wasn't working, and I was trying to convince it to actually allow me to wield it. I thought, that's weird. Why is Dracula's equivalent here? And why is he here at level 4? Isn't he supposed to be the final boss? But sometimes, ignorance isn't bliss. Screw off! The sword doesn't want anything to do with you, said my paladin with his best effort to uphold his oaths. Needless to say, that didn't end well. My paladin was killed in a single turn, and the sword was taken, and I was sitting there with the most what the actual hell face possible. But it got worse, as, you see, the DM was a Call of Cthulhu fan, and he knew about Curse of Strahd's immortality rate. So he came up with this brilliant idea that if you died, the dark powers would bring you back to life, but you are afflicted with indefinite insanity, as well as a curse. So my paladin did come back, as an alcoholic, with fur in the ears and a thirst for blood. So he became a drunken demi-werewolf, and I didn't like that, not one bit. And here's my second big mistake, and the whole point of this horror story and why it happened. Upon hating what happened to my character, do you know what I did? Of course you must be thinking something like, you spoke to your friend about how your expectations were wrong and how you didn't like what just happened with your character, and tried to find a solution together. But no. I, of course, took the worst path possible. To change my character to be even more powerful every time that I was hit by an unbalanced fight and didn't win. And if you know something about Curse of Strahd, you know I changed my character at least 4 times. And then the game devolved into a war of hurt expectations. While my GF, the Monk, and I pushed forward and tried to solve the game in the punch the bad guys and believe in friendship anime style that I thought this was going to be. The DM continued to devolve into despair while he tried to maintain Ravenloft atmosphere and themes. But it ultimately got to the point where my girlfriend was sad because Strahd was just killing every NPC that we got to make friends with, And I was pissed because nothing I tried to do seemed to actually give us any good results. And the monk? Well, the monk was fine. He was punching things and screaming with his emo halfling monk. The dude was living his dream. And it got bad, to the point that whenever Strahd appeared, I would just say, "Go away, you attention whore. You're just a figment of my imagination," and drop anything that my character was doing in the moment and just leave. What's the point in trying to fight against him? He'll just charm you, or use some other ass-pull feature that he has. Besides, doesn't he have anything better to do beyond being a pain in my ass? And don't get me wrong here, the DM was actually doing a great job with the other characters, lore, and other stuff. He loved Ravenloft, but it got to the point that even that couldn't quell my frustration with Zaro bitch. And you might be thinking, so you finally brought your concerns to the DM and everything was great after a talk, right? Wrong. You see, players are truly strange creatures. Why don't I know that one? My solution to this problem was to stop caring at all about Strahd, or the main story of the campaign. And, needless to say, it was rude and unfair to the DM, who was putting so much effort and love into the campaign. And I would give myself a slap to the face for each character that I made if I could go back into the past. And, not soon after, the campaign fell apart because the DM lost his will to DM. Some time passed, and we improved both as player and DM, and spoke to each other about the campaign, and where it became everything but fun. And we agreed in two simple but huge points, and the whole point to the story. For number one, the expectations weren't right, nor were they checked. The DM was trying to run OG Ravenloft, while we were trying to play anime Castlevania. And for two, we didn't communicate our feelings about the game. And I can't stress this point enough on how it would have saved this campaign. I had numerous chances to say, "Hey man, your campaign is great and all, but I didn't like the feeling of being overpowered by Strahd so early, nor having my items stolen, or almost all of our NPC friends killed. And I don't want to play a horror campaign too. I don't like the insanity and curse system, and I don't think that it even really works in 5th edition, you know? I was thinking that we could play this a little bit more like Castlevania, and if I had actually told him any of this, he would have actually understood, as he did months later. We could have been happier and playing Storm King's Thunder, but that simple fact that I didn't speak my mind ruined a game not only for me, but for my friends and girlfriend. So folks, I always see horror stories here about how they could have easily avoided it if they would just communicate their feelings. So do it. Do it more often. Say what you think about the game. Say what you want and what you don't want. As both the player and the DM. Just be upfront and honest with your fellow players and DMs. But, yeah, that's all. I hope my story helps you all to avoid something similar. And as a final note, the DM and I are still big friends, and help each other out with TTRPG related stuffs a lot. He DMs Call of Cthulhu now, and I don't play at his table anymore, but not because I dislike him as a DM or anything as such, but because we both know that I truly dislike TTRPG horror mechanics. Well guys, the only thing I can think to add to the OP's ending there is for his point number 1, and by extension point number 2, talk about your expectations and things during session 0. Make sure that everyone has an idea of what everyone wants to do and what they're expecting and so on and so forth before you even begin to play the game. Find out if you and everyone else are actually going to be a match for the campaign. But beyond that, this one had a pretty good ending. Nothing too terrible happened and people learned from their mistakes. But with that being said, that's the end of this one, so as always, have a good one.